Oh, yes. Welcome to CrossPolitic. I am taking over CrossPolitic. I'm Doug TenNapel. I'm a barely literate comic book artist, but I'm an old friend of Chocolate Knox and Toby and Gabe Wrench. Those guys, they've had me on the show before. And so I'm doing kind of a fill-in. When they need time off, this is the episode you'll be seeing. So we'll try and make it, I'll try and make it as painless for you as possible. But I've spoken at Fight, Laugh, Feast with who was I with on that one? That was with Doug Wilson and Rowdy. You might have heard of them. David Bonson, yeah. I really felt like, you know, on Sesame Street, they used to have a thing where it was like, one of these things is not like the others. You know, they have the 3 panels there. You know, 3 kids would be on a swing and 1 kid would be on the seesaw. And they go, tell me, can you guess which one? Well, guess which one didn't belong on that stage at Fight, Laugh, Feast? Doug Wilson, Rowdy, and David Bonson. And I disagree with David Bonson on a whole lot of monetary policy. So it was all I could do to keep from shutting up on stage and going like, wrong. David Bonson, wrong. Oh, Doug, would you like to weigh in on, tell me about monetary policy? Sit down, Dave. I'm a barely literate comic book artist. Let me tell you about finances. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm a Christian. I am a artist of types. I like coffee. Oh, guys, keep your acceptable vices close. This is about acceptable vice. You know, there's a lot of vices, and I think if you deprive a man of every vice, you're going to dry him out. Okay, so acceptable vice. You know, there's some guys out there. Come on, guys. Come on, my people. I'm talking about my lure people out there. There's guys out there with a whole lot of too many calories packed on them. So I never judge a man for his vice. I'm only going, when you see a man eating too many calories, it's probably because he's not watching porn or taking crack cocaine. So you just go, you know what, brother? That is acceptable vice. Eat those calories. Mine, I got my coffee here. I've got my whiskey, my single malt over there. And I'm known to imbibe a pipe or a cigar or 2. And that's as I desperately clutch the sides of this chair. And I'm 2 months off of my chew pouches, which I was on for like 8 years. So actually I'm doing pretty good on the acceptable vice thing. You know, I can't, you know, the problem with acceptable vice is once a man crosses a line with a vice, you've crossed too far. Now you can't be trusted with it. So that's me and tobacco. Suddenly I can't do pipes and cigars either. It gives me too much. It's too good. Tobacco works too well to my CrossPolitic people. And I know there's a lot of you guys out there on your cigars going, everything's cool. I'm with you. The other thing is I hate the idea of health. Health is moral. This is something I learned from Dennis Prager long ago, where it was all the New Agers, all the Kellogg, you know, from Kellogg cereal, these early New Agers that give themselves like yogurt and coffee enemas. Don't ask. But it was like health, Zen, chakra thing. And they'd go, health is moral. And a lot of my buddies in the Seventh-day Adventist movement are the same way, where, you know, nowhere in the Bible does it say that health is moral, okay? You don't have to be healthy. Sorry, it's not in there. Go show me the scripture in Corinthians 4:25 where it says jog all the time. Keep your calories down, my people. You know, only eat organic foods. It's not in there. Now, to be fair, there's not a lot on masculinity in there either, you know, on the difference between men and women. And I know that we believe in many of those lines. But then again, you know, most of us, look, give me the manliest fight, laugh, feast guy doing rugby, making his own soda bread. You know, they're always making their bread and singing their Irish shanties in those videos. You go find a man in like Saudi Arabia, first century, and he'd call every one of those guys a wussy by their cultural standards. I'm only saying we're trying. Fight, laugh, feast is about we're trying to hold on to the last remnant, the vestigial tail of manhood that is getting worked out of our system. We're holding on to manhood. Come on, guys, you got to still be able to throw a punch. You got to still put in a good 8-hour work day. That's minimum. Like my dad, it was 10, 12 hours, 6 days a week. Now it's like 4-day work week, maybe 6, 7 hours a day I got to work. We're just trying to hold on for a little bit longer. The tiniest bit of manhood as it gets ripped away from us by feminine. Do I have to do active listening? That's another thing. Women are all, yes, do active listening. This is how my dad listened, okay? There was no eye contact involved. It was, he'd stare off. And you just talk, and there was no response on the face. That's how Dad did it. That's how men used to do it. We didn't emote. See, men didn't used to emote because you show your emotion, you show vulnerability in public, and you're exposing yourself to a fellow tribe mate, some beta male who's coming up and trying to be the alpha. He might stick a spear through you or show weakness to a bear. You can't show the rest of the tribe if they found out that you were afraid of a bear. All it did was it scared the children. So you had to walk up there all stoic. There's a bear in the camp. Not that I know, guys. I'm an artist. I drew most of my life. Anyways, we're going to talk about art and Christianity. We're going to do a little bit of theology, I hope, by the time I'm done here. We're 7 minutes in. Let me get to one of these ads. I got to do 2 ad reads. I like knocking them out while I'm energetic. So I'm going to get one of them done here. These are the people who bring you CrossPolitic. So we want to give them a special thank you and special consideration. If you click on the link that I mentioned in this ad, it helps everyone. Okay, the company's happy, CrossPolitic's happy. So let me tell you about this wonderful product called Backwards Planning Financial. Now, when I was a kid, there was backwards masking on all rock music. This is backwards planning. It's not the same thing. Backwards Planning Financial. Are you thinking differently about your family's finances and resources while others worry about surviving to the next paycheck? This is a quote, the hand of the diligent will rule while the slothful will be put to forced labor, unquote. How would you like that, to be put to forced labor? Train your mindset to see where God is moving, where to invest and build so you can create, protect, and pass on your wealth. What is your plan to use your economic power? Joe Garisi with Backwards Planning Financial coaches his clients to make the kind of impact on their world for generations by integrating investments, debt, insurance, tax-efficient strategies, and legacy planning. You're probably going, where do I find this? There's got to be one place, right, where I can get all this information. You can. Luckily, we all have access to the internet if you're watching this show. Go to backwardsplanningfinancial.nm.com to connect with him. There you go. That's all you're going to do is you're just going to make a connection. Everyone's going to be happy. It doesn't, look, guys, getting information, just making an initial click is free. So you're going to click a link. There'll be a link down below somehow associated with this show. Backwardsplanningfinancial.nm, like New Mexico.com. That's backwardsplanningfinancial.nm.com to connect. This is how you help with your Pass on your money legacy, make a plan with backwards planning, financial.nm.com. Now back to our show. Well, I'm Doug TenNapel. I'm a video game creator. I made Earthworm Jim in the 90s. Many of you guys are wanting to get into media. And so I've lectured on this. I've taught at Houston Baptist University with my buddy, my good friend, Nancy Piercy. My buddy, John Mark Reynolds was down there. William Lane Craig, now Michael Ward is there. And I tried to pass on whatever knowledge I could that was useful to Christian artists coming up through the system. And I have nothing but compassion for Christian artists coming up. Number one is you've got it better than me in that you have access to the internet. And we did not have that. When I was graduating, what did I graduate from college in 1988? Graduated from Point Loma when I was in college. There was no internet. There was no Amazon. There was no self-publishing. There was no digital, delivery of publishing. There was no YouTube. YouTube, there, is a free service that lets you put a TV show out. Basically, it's the world's most powerful television network in the world that they let any schmo go up and start putting content out. Why in the world would you not do some form of something getting your material out? Like I said, I was friends with those Lure TV guys. I've put content out with them. I'm big fans of alternate platforms also, like here on CrossPolitic, the Fight Last Feast stuff. I think we do have to start paying a la carte for at least 1 or 2 services a month instead of just going, I'm going to buy this giant 400 channel cable package. If you're not playing the game, you're not on offense if you're doing that. Guys, we need some offensive help here with Fight, Laugh, Feast. That's part of what it is you pay a la carte for some of those services. So if you're not a team member yet, with subscribing. Oh, and the other thing is the idea of just being a passive viewer is also so old-fashioned. They make fun of people for being boomers. Like every time I need to set up my email, they're going, you boomer. Or if I go, I can't find this button on the, the DVR to record a thing, my kids go, oh, you boomer. Everything's boomer if you haven't figured it out yet. Well, you're being a boomer if you're watching CrossPolitic and you're not at least like giving it some kind of a thumbs up, some kind of a make yourself known in the comments, some kind of copy the link, the share and copy and link and share it with your friends online and saying, hey, I saw this great show with Doug TenNapel on CrossPolitic. If you're not passing it around, then you're a boomer. You're not doing your job. Guys, it's not 1971 where you're watching All in the Family with Archie Bunker and going, where's the remote? Click. You had to go all the way around. Click, there's only 3 channels, choose from, click. It was like 3, 13, 12. It's ABC, NBC, CBS, maybe a PBS, and then some kind of UHF channel. It's not that anymore, guys. It's not 1971. You talk, it's two-way. It's you're looking at me and I'm talking to you, and then it doesn't stop there. I'm not I Love Lucy. There's expectations is what we're saying. Push up. If you're that stoic and you can't, just click a thumbs up or whatever it is. Give us a 4-star. It's two-way now is my point. Spread this link around. It's called social media. It's social. It's not social if it's just me talking to you for an hour and you're sitting there and you're not saying anything back. You're being antisocial. You're that guy, which I get it. We go to the church after party and everyone else just seems to be having a good time. And I'm never that guy having a good time at the after party. Why is everyone else so normal? Why is everyone else sharing drinks? Their families look normal. They're loving on each other. And I just feel like a total outsider. As Bilbo would say, I feel like too much butter too little butter scratched across too much toast. It's exhausting to be social after church. I have to go. I love these people. I love them. I have nothing but love and respect for them. Okay? You throw me in any Hollywood party, and trust me, I hate those people 10 times more. So it's not about do you like them or not or anything like that. I have nothing but respect, love, near worship for these people at an after church party with their families. Like, I can't even untie their shoes. So it's not me judging them as I'm better than them. It's they're near my church. I go to a pastor. My pastor is Jamie, but the main pastor that made us all famous was Dr. George Graham. Okay, so I see him. He educates all 4 of my kids. One of the greatest men. I could go on and on about him, but he'd probably hate me for it. But this is a church where part of why I like going is because I like standing on. It makes me feel like I want to stand on my tiptoes. I don't want to slouch and dress worse. I want to stand up and be better. Okay, fine. It's works oriented and we're all saved by grace. So, okay, but it doesn't mean that we don't still wear pants to church. Okay. By the way, if it was just pure grace and there was no works involved, just go to church naked. As soon as you start putting on, I always say this, as soon as you start putting on a pair of pants, you're lying to someone because you were born naked. So guys, I'm not advocating for going to church naked. I'm saying put on your pants, put on the best pair of pants you got, and just realize that we're all social. We do tie that supernature to nature, to the material particles at some point. You have to put the particles that are shaped like pants on the particles that are shaped like your legs, so you can go to church and be with other people who also put the particles on their leg-shaped particles to worship God, who is not made of particles. He made the particles. Okay. And I don't want to get into the whole mind-body dualism. I'm a Thomistic substance dualist. I don't want to get into that now either. But we live in a physical world. Okay. And that means there's a right way to do the physical world. And so if you can wear a tie or not wear a tie in a physical world at a holy event, wear a tie. How hard's that? It's doing particles right. We comb our hair. You have bad breath, you brush your teeth. It's not being fake to brush your teeth. It's not being that fake. Wear a button-down collar. We don't even know what these collars are for anymore. What are these wings sticking out for? Some guy invented these wings on our shirt collars, and now we all wear them we don't even ask. We just go, yeah, I look like Dracula. I got these pointy things hanging off my neck. Now every man wears them. We wear a collar. Okay. Button-down cuffs. In the cartoons, these cuffs used to come off. They put the cuffs on, they button onto the shirt. Now they're all sewn in, and we don't even question it. We just go, okay, I guess I got to wear this. I don't know why the shirt stops here at the waist. Why wouldn't this shirt go all the way down to full body, which they do in India? They have a giant long muumuu skirt. And we in America, we cut them off right there at the waist. We could cover the whole body with one garment. It's probably how it was in Jesus' day with the tunic, went all the way down. And now we've got t-shirts, even half shirts. They used to have separate collars. Now we all just wear it this way, guys. And that's my statement on mind-body dualism. I swear it'll all make sense if you rewind this and watch it again. Getting back to manhood, because, as an artist, my dad swung a hammer for a living. My dad, who passed away now just almost a year ago. I've been without my papa, Ed TenNapel, the great one, the father of the family, manliest man, foul mouth. He'd been in more fist fights than anyone I'd ever known. Now this guy he was saved, but barely saved. How's that? But he was. I once asked him about all the fist fights he'd been in. He was the kind of guy that would just go. He was always in bar fights his whole life. I mean, and just a form of manliness that I love. Now, I'm not, I'm not in the fight, laugh, feast. When we say fight, we don't mean go looking for bar fights. I think what we mean is at some point, men are here to fight. I think what's wrong with the world, people say like, Biden and all those guys are saying like, oh, men are violent. Men, the hateful MAGA Republicans are just, they try and pin violence to us, even though most, as Jay-Z said in the 99 Problems, but my being one, that most of us wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. I don't know of many men who I know hanging out here in Moscow, Idaho, or out in Tennessee that are getting in fist fights all the time. Okay, we'd probably more likely to wear a powdered wig and a beauty mark than to get in a bar fight. And that's what's wrong with the American church, is that today's men are more likely to wear a Elton John powdered wig and a beauty mark than to get in a fist fight. And if you want to prove me wrong, then please, by all means, go get in a fist fight. That's not what we mean by fight anyways. But the point is, if there's nothing to fight for in this postmodern age, okay, I've talked a little bit, or maybe I haven't talked about it. I've thought about it. The mind-body dualism thing, okay? That's the upper story, lower story leap thing, where the body in Gnosticism is just like this, it's a fallen thing. It's made of stuff. It has a low ceiling on it, whereas supernature has a high ceiling on it. Supernature is where all the good stuff happens. And dualism means that they're inextricably bound to each other is all. They're dependent on each other. In Thomistic substance dualism particularly, they're bound to each other. They interact by necessity. It's not an accident. It's by design. And suddenly, if you don't find yourself willing to fight, I don't mean a fist fight, I mean I mean raise your voice. How about this? Raise your voice in 8th grade school class, where you look around and they're going, we're going to bring out this comic book, guys, it's sex ed time, and these are two men banging each other in this comic book. And you ought to be trained by your dad, whom you've seen stand up in a public place and say, no, you will not blaspheme my God. No, you will not degrade my family. Don't say that in front of my wife, you a-hole. And yes, I'll throw down if you disagree. No, you cannot teach that to my son. And then your son is raised so that in 8th grade, when they bring out the comic book with sexual toys in it, that equates two men banging each other like they're in prison with the sacred event of your mom and dad getting together before a Genesis ordination that created you. They equate that with two men, hairy men banging each other, that you stand up in 8th grade and go, no, how about no? No. I'm gonna go Romans 1:27-28 on you. You're all foul. This is a warning from beyond that that the sky is about to fall down on you in fire. Your civilization is about to go. You were modern. It's about to go postmodern. You're about to get destroyed, smoted on the ground like Balrog, like a Gandalf smoted Balrog is what's about to happen. And real men find things to fight about. So in Fight, Laugh, Feast, if you're not fighting, then it's not that you're not violent enough, it's that you're not good enough. If you're not fighting, you don't love anything enough, because love causes you to fight. Love is what caused Jesus to go into the temple and turn over tables. And, and everyone in the New Testament over there, they're going, I thought this was the new God. What's this Old Testament God showing up here and turning over wait, he's driving people out with a whip? I thought this was the love your enemy guy. I thought this was the weak hippie one. This was Woodstock Jesus. Now he's driving people out of the temple with a whip. Or Ananias and Sapphira, and they're just like, oh, you lied about your tithe. Boom, you're dead. Is that an Acts? I can't remember. But suddenly it's like Old Testament God pops in the New Testament and goes, hey, same guy. By the way, everybody, same guy. I'm still here. All right. Same guy. He fights because it means there's something worth fighting for. And modern Christians, if anything, we've been P-ified. Can I say pussified? Into thinking nothing's worth raising your voice over. Nothing's worth making a fist. Nothing's worth being embarrassed about. Because in postmodernism, nothing's true. It's all just personal, it's all conventional. It's all cultural. It's all personal in here. It really doesn't, why should I risk my skin in the game, And the modern church is losing because our men will not fight. And I don't blame the women about this at all. Women are just a totally different conversation. This is more about the men. You must fight. And if you can't find something worth fighting about when all sides of our little city walls and gates are being hammered on by an enemy, and you can't find some place to fight, then your philosophy is off. We got to recalibrate that. You got to recalibrate your moral compass is broken. You're like, I don't see anything. What's worth fighting for? Like literally everything is being besieged right now by weak men too. They have no fight. That's why I like seeing Gabe Wrench go to jail. I'm going, it's a bad time. There's only one. This is a pretty big country. And out of this whole country, only one Christian is going to jail? All of us should be in jail by now. I'm not preaching. I'm not saying look for trouble either, because, I got a mouth on me. And it's very easy just to run my mouth and then pretend like all this persecution I get is because, then I'll quote that scripture from Jesus. He goes, remember, if the world hated you, remember it hated me first. If you're being persecuted, for following me. I'm going, well, I'm not really being persecuted for following you. I'm persecuted for having just a ginormous, ineloquent mouth. But righteous holiness, being righteous and holy, that's a goal I would love to. It would be a great honor to get to die for Jesus. I'm more like Paul. I'm probably out. Peter. I'm more like Peter than Paul. I'm out cutting soldiers' ears off, and Jesus going, "Hey, dude, we ain't doing that." And I'm like, "But I gotta virtue signal my loyalty to you by getting into all this trouble by saying the F word and being badass and saying damn and hell." And that's not losing your job and things for being a holy man. So first, I guess first base is we have to be holy. Second base is go out and pick your fights. That's part of being a man. Is manhood means you should be the first guy to go and assault those masses that are coming after the church, your family, your culture, your country, especially your church, though. Church that's the inner sanctum, guys. We're behind the walls and Minas Tirith here, and the children are just behind that door in your church. It's like by the time the woke culture's getting into your church, it is time to throw over tables. Jesus didn't throw over tables at Rome, okay? Rome was this evil Antichrist place, they had a thing called crucifixion where they were taking, criminals and nailing them to crosses and lighting them as torches as the entrance to their, things. This is the church. Like, the temple got a different treatment than Rome in general. And I'm saying by the time they get into your church and they're bringing this woke, they're saying the melanin in your skin is significant. The physical particles of your skin, materialism, is significant. They don't even have a worldview even to back that up, by the way. But the idea that you need racial sensitivity in your church, you need a lot more than racial sensitivity, The biggest beef between me and a black man, you're going to find a lot more conflict between me and any man, probably over more things than just our skin color. Any other man, you'll find me probably undermining him with my words, hating on him, being duplicitous, being passive aggressive, rooting for his downfall. And that's not a racial thing, that kind of hatred knows no race. So they're going to have us over here fighting this irrelevant fight over here over race. And all the time you go, well, at least I'm not racist, so now I'm good, right? And meanwhile, this wicked heart goes off and you're rooting for the failure of all your enemies and cheering on, looking over all the sins of your allies because they're on your team right versus team left or whatever. And I'm a huge fan of Trump, so don't get me wrong. I'm voting right, hard right, absolute right, but Trump is not going to save this earth. Trump does not have what it takes to save this earth. Neither do I. I'm an artist, and I'm going to tell you there's a lot of things that Jesus will do for you. Everything that Jesus can do for you, I can't do for you. Okay? I can't make you holy. He can make you holy. I can't pay for your sins. He can pay for your sins. He does all these amazing things that no man can touch, and that's why he's the name above all other names. So that's I don't know, did I cover the laugh thing yet? I did fight, laugh, and then feast. Well, I'm putting on too many calories as a 57-year-old middle-aged man, so I need to do a little less feasting. But I do want to go back to the whole health is not moral thing. I think there's a lot of pressure for men to look a certain way and to look more active than we are. We live largely passive lives. So all of us really should look like Archie Bunker. We should be pretty doughy in the middle. We should not look like we've been out on the tundra hunting, running with our tribe, hunting antelope. We should look like we live in a prosperous society with too many expendable calories and we don't exercise enough. That's how we ought to look. Okay. So just that I'm this svelte is amazing. But I'm also 6'8". So if I took this shirt off, it would be a horror to all of you. Where I can hide my chunky, middle-aged, low testosterone fat is pretty impressive. I do run. I run 2 miles a day. I did 3 miles yesterday was my long run. I try to do 2 miles a day. And that's also because my pastor, Dr. George Grant, is one of my heroes. He runs 2 miles a day. Now, he gets up at 6 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. He's a disciplined man. He's a better man than me. And he's almost 70, guys, and he kicked my ass on his marathon time. I ran 5 marathons back when I turned 42. That was like 15 years ago. I haven't run a marathon since. George Grant goes and runs a marathon and beats all of my times at almost 70 years old as I did at 42. And that's why my pastor is one of my inspirations. Is he gets out and runs. So guys, if you have a body and God gave you a body where you still have knees that move, you owe it to the universe to go out, ride a bike, lift some weights, go for a run. Now that's all fake exercise, first of all. So first I'm going to defend fake exercise, okay? So we go for a run, we lift weights. Lifting weights just makes it look like I do manual labor when really I would never touch manual labor. I'm an artist. Okay? I'm not going to go out and start swinging a hammer at a bunch of rocks. but I want to look like I lifted rocks all day with my body. So I go and I lift weights. I go and I lift rocks, fake rocks, to look like I lift real rocks. And then I got to keep my calories down because I actually have enough money to buy enough calories to choke a mule. But I got to pretend like I can barely afford any calories. So I got to get my body fat down to look svelte. Are you seeing the madness of our times, guys? Are you seeing the true grift of our times of making you look like, I gotta look like I run on the tundra and just wrestled a bison and killed it for my tribe and dragged it back, when really I'm just gonna go and get, a Baconator at Wendy's and pound it, and then I'm gonna run extra hard to look like I can barely afford this stuff and look like I really had to work hard for it. That's my summary of our exercise. It's heaven forbid I should ever have to actually build a wall. I built that pond out there. That's impressive. I've got a pretty good pond out there. And I did move a lot of rock. And man, I look like an Adonis. That was 4 years ago. I look like an Adonis. A 6'8" Adonis, if there is such a thing. It's kind of like, I looked kind of like Dualism from Street Fighter. He's the Indian looking guy that can stretch his arms out. I look kind of like that guy. I'm like Dualism, but I only believe in one God instead of 300 million pagan, Vishnu, blue, elephant, six-armed gods. Okay, let's read another ad. Look at this. We're 36 minutes in, so I thought I'd read another ad. It's a good break. This is the last ad I'll read, but remember these people who sponsor this show, because they're the ones that keep the lights on, keep everybody, we do a little bit of payment. It doesn't cover every bill, guys. This is just your basic kindness, and you're going to consider these things. Here we go. This is the Fort Worth Conference. This is a news event. Fort Worth Conference. God the Father is waiting and looking down the road for all his prodigal sons to return. Will prodigal America return to the Father in repentance, confessing that Jesus Christ is Lord? Or will we fall to our own destruction and become a pillar of salt as a memorial to other nations? Join us on Reformation Weekend, October 31st to November 2nd in Fort Worth, Texas for the annual Fight, Laugh, Feast Prodigal America Conference. If you're a prodigal, it's time to come home. Are you done slopping pigs, boy? Anyways, the dates again, October 31st to November the 2nd. You'll spend the weekend hearing from Dr. George Grant. That's my pastor, is putting this thing on my pastor. He's a hammer. He's a hammer. He loves Chalmers. I'm a big Chesterton Orthodoxy guy. Doug Wilson's PG Wodehouse. Dr. Grant is Chalmers. Okay. You'll spend the weekend, that's October 31st to November 2nd, hearing from Dr. George Grant, Steve Deese, James White, Doug Wilson, Dusty Devers, and more. Singing psalms and feasting on the good food and beer. Yeah. Tell me about the beer. The darker, the better. How do you like your beer? I like my beer like life, dark and bitter. Okay. Get tickets at prodigalamerica.com. That's prodigalamerica.com. That's October 31st to November 2nd. Look for more details here on CrossPolitic. I'm sure we'll be doing more announcements coming up. Okay, next up. Now I got to do some art stuff, okay, because I'm an artist. I am more famous than most Christian artists. I'm trying to think if there's a Christian artist who's more famous than me. That, and by famous, I mean has accomplished a lot in the field of pop media, okay? So if you're out there going, you know what, Doug, I just want to carve the David out of marble. I want to carve the Pietà out of marble like Michelangelo did 500 years ago. I get it. You're better than me, okay? And I don't have much to say to you because your path is so pure and mine is such a trench that I don't even, I only tell you like, oh, that's so good. That is so good. Okay. However, I made my dent in comic books, video games, and television animation in the 90s and 2000s. So I created Earthworm Jim as my most famous video game character. It was easy. I farted that thing out, guys. It does not take a lot, guys. This is not a work of genius. Earthworm Jim, it became Game of the Year. It was on the Genesis. It was a big deal. I always think it's pathetic for a creator to have to go back to 1994 before I can tell you about, the great old times. It's like in The Wrestler when he's trying to get the kids to play that NES game version of him as the wrestler. And it's like just so old and out of date. I mean, if you saw the Earthworm Jim game today, you'd probably go like, wow, that looks really primitive, Daddy. Did you guys play that with a cuneiform and an abacus? Did you play that video game? Because it looks like it goes on the pixelated cave walls of Lascaux. Yeah, it's very primitive, very old, but it was the boom of video games. And Earthworm Jim was particularly funny. I created all the characters. I did his voice. I was an animator at the time. I came through television animation. I worked on Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, was one of my first animated shows I ever did. I did a video game called Jurassic Park, you might have heard of, based on the video game. Steven Spielberg funded my video game company called The Neverhood. We did a clay animated video game, all clay and puppet animation. It was brilliant through Microsoft / DreamWorks. So I got to work with Bill Gates, Steven Spielberg, blah, 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 big names, blah, blah, blah. You should be impressed, blah, blah, blah. It's just culture, guys. It's all going to burn. So don't be that impressed. But back then, Bill Gates, he was doing video games instead of trying to extract and remove half of the Earth's population. So maybe we should have given him more success in video games. Might have saved half the world. And then I also did, so I've done 20 graphic novels known as, they're just long form comic books. So I've done them through Image Comics, was one of my first indie publishers. And then I did Scholastic, so they've gotten into the kids' schools and stuff like that. And now Scholastic is almost, there's so many like rainbow trans stuff. I don't know if they'd ever even publish my work, but I've always had like secular success, okay? All my funding, all my stuff, it wasn't going to the Christian ghetto and going, hey guys, I know your standards are zero because you're used to having just garbage thrown at you for entertainment. No, my stuff went through real entertainment. Very secular companies out in the world of skaters and punk rock and sexual deviance and just coked out monsters in Hollywood is where I made my success. And in children's television, I did Earthworm Jim animated series and Nickelodeon's Cat Scratch. Project Geeker was another one for CBS. Recently, what brought me out here to Tennessee was I worked on the new VeggieTales for Netflix / DreamWorks. They hired me to come out and do. I was the showrunner for 150 episodes of that series for Netflix. Ours were more biblical than the original. They were funnier than the original. They were better animated than the original. And the entire evangelical audience that liked the original turned on us and hated it because I changed the design of the characters, which you will also learn that the evangelical audience, the audience is pig ignorant about culture. And that's okay. I'm ignorant about stuff too, guys. I can't translate Greek and Hebrew on the fly. I just know what I'm talking about on character, story, and animation timing. I know how to set up a composition. I know how to run a crew. And if you think old VeggieTales is better than new VeggieTales, you're allowed to be wrong. It's okay. So anyways, I did VeggieTales. And now I'm basically independent. I do YouTube. I do politics on YouTube. It's called Doug in Exile is my show. And it's the biggest success I've had in my life is I just talk about, I'm just a big fan. I go Trump, go Trump. Here's where Biden is evil. On Trump, I'll tell you right now, Trump can't solve what is wrong with America. This goes back to I can't do for you what only Jesus can. America needs Jesus, not Donald Trump. Now we're going to hopefully get Donald Trump because let's face it, just because I say Germany means Jesus doesn't mean that it's good that Hitler take over Germany, okay? So just because I say that America needs Jesus doesn't mean I want Biden to win. Biden being Hitler. If you need me to explain that to you, then you're morally retarded. And I can't imagine anyone who already subscribes to this service needs me to explain to them what's wrong with Biden. That does not make Trump the answer, but he's the best we've got. Okay. And this is the problem with living in a linear Western democracy where you vote and time is sequential and there's limits to it. Okay. You're going to have to, you don't have to vote. You can throw your vote away. But America, we're going out to all of the people and say, who do you want to vote for? Okay. And you have a problem with voting for Trump. Very good. Very good. You're pure. You're so impressive. You're so pure. And I have no problem voting for Trump. Okay. By the way, if it was Biden versus Adolf Hitler, I'd have no problem voting for Biden. Okay. But that's not who we're voting. It's less than Hitler. Hitler versus less than Hitler. You have a moral obligation to vote for less than Hitler. And if you have Biden versus Trump, I believe you have a moral obligation to vote for Trump. I cannot find a moral reason to vote for Biden given the lay of the land. Now, that might cause some controversy. I'd love to hear from all you guys about your defense on that going, Doug, you can't do that kind of political advocacy. To which I say, yes, I can, and I just did. You're morally deficient if you can't see the difference between Biden and Trump. How's that? Again, doesn't make Trump good. But for those of you who are saying, I'm going to do a pure write-in, to you, I'll say you're ignorant. And so there's only one pure write-in that is correct. And so if you don't write in Jesus or something like that, then you're duplicitous. You're duplicitous, and it's a tantrum. You're saber rattling. I don't believe you. I don't believe you on your write-in plan. You're going to write in what? Nikki Haley or something? So you're going to go, Doug, I'm going to say you have to write in Ronald Reagan's ghost. You're going to go, Doug, I'm not going to write in Ronald Reagan's ghost. You're being mean and facetious. No, actually, I'm being honest. You're being morally retarded. Because you're going, but it's not reality. You're not even dealing with reality. Ronald Reagan's ghost, Ronald Reagan isn't going to win the presidency. Yeah, neither is your third party clown going to, if we're dealing with reality, the person you're going to write in besides Trump or Biden is also not going to win. Okay. So if you're going to live in fantasy, then and if you're going for purity, remember the two things that you're saying. Number one, I demand purity because Trump is just not pure enough. Number two, it can't adhere to reality because I already know my third party vote's just a tantrum. So now I'm saying, given those two attributes, you have a moral obligation to vote for Jesus, even though he probably won't incarnate and become president. And number two, Ronald Reagan's ghost, which there might be a miracle. The ghost might show up as an apparition, his torso transparent, kind of milky white. Ooh, I'm president, everybody, there you go again. You're going to go, that's not reality. Yeah, okay, well, if you're dealing with reality, then you get to pick between Trump or Biden, is my point. Otherwise, it's just a self-righteous tantrum, David French. So pick your party, pick your lane. You don't have to just hold your nose like the rest of us and just vote for the orange guy. That's why I vote for him. And the Supreme Court. Look, we have black babies' lives. Think of little Chocolate Knox as a little black baby. Remember that? Remember little baby Chocolate Knox so many years ago? Now picture this. What's going to save the next generation of little black babies? It is not going to be Biden. It's going to be Supreme Court picks, conservative Supreme Court picks by a guy like Trump, who's already done, guys, he's 3 for 3. He's picked 3 Supreme Court fellas. He has a higher track record than Ronald Reagan, who did that feminist Sandra Day O'Connor. He scumbagged us with Sandra Day O'Connor. Trump's already more pure on the Supreme Court on abortion than Ronald Reagan, your guy. So no one's batting, no one's doing 100% yet, like Trump. So go for Trump, not Biden. It's time to be big boys. It's time to be grown-ups here, right? Okay. I think we got to wrap it up here. I think we're just short of an hour. And so I'll try to wrap this up. I will be praying for all of you. I hope you enjoyed this show. I hope I didn't ruin CrossPolitic for you. I hope I brought something new and something different. However, I do practice the same discipline as Toby, Knox, and Wrench. We're all brothers. All my Moscow people are good buddies of mine. In fact, I'm coming out there for, I think I'm on Man Rampant with Wilson coming up. I've got a Canon Press documentary coming out with me also on their Makers thing. But let's stay focused on CrossPolitic. I need you guys to subscribe. I need you guys to pass this link around to your friends is number one most important. It's too much to ask these guys to do all of the marketing themselves. So you probably know someone who would enjoy it. Send this link around saying, look, the creator of Earthworm Jim was on CrossPolitic. You should watch this. Your kid wants to be an animator. Look how demented someone gets when they've done animation too long and comic books too long. Well, as Knox says, if you're single, get married. And I'm serious about that, guys. A lot of single guys out there trying to quote Paul, going, oh, you can also serve the Lord if you're single. It's greater. No, Paul was not trying to undermine God's demand that you find another woman. Are you telling me? I see women at church all the time. You know, let's face it, you're a solid 6 and you're looking for an 8. And it's time for you to go out and date some 6s because it's better than being alone. If you die alone, man, you've been suckered. So get married. And if you're married, have kids. That's not as hard because I think just if you do what nature demands you do, I think it's easier the kids are actually an easier argument. I think more people are staying single than there are married couples choosing not to have kids. I could be wrong. But, have kids because you know why the universe does not revolve around you. And it's about time you learn that you learn a kid, you will cease to be a selfish person or your kids will die. Okay, so have kids. And if you have kids, baptize them because that is our way as evangelical Christians. I'm Doug TenNapel in exile right here on CrossPolitic.
At Kepler, we believe parents are the primary agent for raising and educating their children. Kepler exists to help parents maintain their educational agency without forfeiting the assistance and expertise of competent and qualified teachers. Through the division of labor, parents can choose to outsource some or all of their child's education without ever forfeiting their agency. Kepler Education is an online marketplace for classical Christian education. It's a marketplace filled with competent, conservative Christian teachers who offer university model courses in the classical tradition that fit your schedule and budget. Come visit us at www.kepler.education and use our smart and simple search tool to find the course and teacher that meets your child's needs. Thinking differently about education? Think Kepler Education.